Hello, everyone. So, I was thinking that one of my favorite times of the day at school is when we get to read Junie B. Jones together, and I know that's some of your guys' favorite part too. So, while we're at home doing e learning these next few days, I thought it would be fun if I got our new book that we were going to start and I read a chapter to you each day. So, today we're going to start our new book, Junie B. Jones, Aloha-ha-ha. Chapter 1 is called Flinging. Now, if you remember, this book is going to be about Junie B. Jones going on a vacation, and we're going to figure out what happens. So, Chapter 1, Flinging. Friday. Dear first grade journal, I've got big news, I've got big news. Last night, Daddy told me a happy surprise, and it's called My Family is Going on an Exciting Vacation, and it's going to be the time of our life, I tell you. I am trying to save my news for show and tell, but I don't think I can wait that long. That is how come I'm going to ask the teacher to start that activity right exactly now. Please stand by. I stopped writing and I raised my hand. Mr. Scary was not looking at me. When teachers don't look, you have to stand up and shout, or else how are they supposed to notice you? I stood up and shouted, Mr. S., Mr. S., how long until we have show and tell, do you think? Mr. Scary wrinkled his eyebrows at me. I am not supposed to call him Mr. S., I believe. Please sit down, Junie B., he said. It's still journal time, and journal time is quiet time. I nodded. Yeah, I know, only I'd actually like to wrap things up and get started with the show and tell now. Mr. Scary sucked in his cheeks. Sit down, he said again. We will have show and tell shortly. I looked at the clock. How many minutes is shortly, I asked. Is 1 minute or 8 minutes or 11 minutes? On account of, if it's 1 minute, I can wait probably, but 11 minutes would be out of the question. Mr. Scary walked back to my desk and he sat me in my chair. I glanced up at him. All I'm looking for is a rough estimate, I said. Just then my neighbor named May leaned across the aisle and she did a giant shh in my face. I wiped my cheek. Ew, I hollered, ew, 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 'cause May got spittle on me, that's why. And spittle is the grown-up word for spitooey. I zoomed to the back of the room and I climbed on the stool to reach for the faucet, but Mr. Scary beat me to it. He wet a paper towel and wiped my face. Thank you, I said. I needed that. Mr. Scary rolled his eyes. You are being very rambunctious this morning, aren't you, Junie B. Jones, he said. I scratched my head at that vocabulary. Okay, you lost me on that one, I said. Rambunctious, he repeated. Rambunctious means... May's voice interrupted. Bad, she called out. Bad. Bunctious means bad, Junie Jones. You're being bad this morning. Bad, 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 bad. I turned and looked at her. Her chair spun around to face the back of the room. She was watching me like an audience. Mr. Scary ran his fingers through his tired hair. Then he went back to May's desk and he turned her in the right direction. Teachers spend a lot of time adjusting people. After that, he bent back down to me and he made his voice more private. Junie B., I know why you're excited, he whispered. Your mother called me on the phone last night. She told me about your vacation next week. I threw my arms up real thrilled and I flinged myself high in the air. I can't wait, Mr. Scary. I can't wait, I said. Mr. Scary grabbed my arms to keep me from flinging. Okay, see, this is the wild behavior that I'm talking about, he said. I really need you to stay calm until show and tell, Junie B. Can you do that for me, please? I thought for a second, then I shrugged my shoulders. Yeah, only I don't know if I can do that, I said, because I'm trying really hard to be calm, and this is how I'm turning out. My teacher tapped his chin. Maybe we could make a deal, he said. How about this? If you stay quiet and calm until show and tell, I'll let you go first. How does that sound? I bounced up and down real excited at that news. Sounds like a D-E-E-L, I said. You mean D-E-A-L, said Mr. Scary. Deal is spelled with an A, Junie B. Whatever, I said. After that, I twirled real fast in a happy circle, and I accidentally spun myself into the ground. On the way down, I knocked over the trash can next to the sink stool. All of room 1 stood up and looked at me. I sat up and waved my fingers. Don't be alarmed, people. I'm perfectly okay, I said. After that, I stood up and dusted myself off and went back to my seat. I looked at the clock again. No minutes at all had passed hardly. I put my head down and did a groan. Time was as slow as a turtle. Chapter 2 tomorrow is called Pair o' Dice. I have a feeling that Junie B is going to have a really hard time waiting for show and tell.